Good morning, Otis. It's the day after your birthday. He's still wearing his banners from yesterday evening, where he was all dressed up for his birthday party. And this morning, we're just going to go for a short sort of walk, really, in the locality. It was quite late that he went to bed last night, so he may or may not be tired. I thought we'd keep him nearby today. So starting off for a walk on Ringwood Avenue, walking past the new bus shelters. These were erected last year. There's one this side and one the other side of the road. Sort of very sort of Victorian style. And this is the entrance to the brickyard walk that we usually do. But what we're going to do is walk in and out this time. I'll show you a little bit more of the area, and showing you the entrances and the exits to some of the woodland walks. And the sun is just peering through there across the trees. Oh, Otis, we go back out this way. Wait there, good boy. Okay, across, Otis. Come on, Otis, across the road. And up above there to the left, you can just make out the Lawrence Hill walk that we do through the woodlands. And this is the old milk yard. It is owned by a lassie called Nancy, and she started her milk operation back in the 60s, and unfortunately about 8 years ago I think Nancy passed away, 9 years ago, but about 10 years before that she'd given up the milk round. And yeah, this was a great place. She had a couple of garages there with milk floats in. I think she had one electric float and an open back Land Rover, and also a transit van that the family used to do the rounds on. And she owned a beautiful little cottage there called the Milton. Come on, Otis, you're a good boy. And just by walking around the roads and looking around, you can still see all the woodlands that are surrounding us. This is St Gabriel's Church. Unfortunately, last year the roof started falling apart, and that was the end of services there. So the parishioners of St Gabriel's now attend I think it's the Methodist church just down the road here, so I'll show you that. I got lots of fond memories of St Gabriel's growing up. It's where my grandparents, Alice and Fred, used to frequent. And as a kid I used to go along with them to Mass on a Saturday, which I used to thought was a bit strange because all my friends went to church on a Sunday, yet St Gabriel's had an evening Mass on a Sunday. Okay, young man, where are you off? Are you going to check out a dog just weed on a lamppost? So he's just going over to test it and check it out. Yeah, so this is the church where St Gabriel's holds their services and masses now. So St Gabriel's is a Catholic church, And this is the Bishpool Methodist Church, which is a bit strange really, but it's a church I suppose. They do the same thing. Come on, so if we walk this way, we can walk past Milton Cottage, where this way, good boy, where Nancy the milk lady used to have her residence. And this is the residential home, which we've passed a couple of times when we were walking along or following Watery Lane, and also where we followed the woodland walk from Dents Hill through to Aberthorpe Road. And that was the Lady Hillwood walk, which is there. As I said, all these woodland walks are on our doorstep, and this is where Nancy used to live. And wow, the Land Rover is still there. Perhaps her children still own this. Keep it going. Wow, amazing. Otis scaring off a pussycat. Come on, Otis, this way. So this cottage or farmhouse used to be called Milton. And it still is. It actually looks just the same now as it did back in the 80s and 70s. And this is the beginning of Watery Lane, where it goes through Ringland. And this is the brook. It travels all the way through Brickyard Lane from the top of Christchurch and down through Watery Lane. So this is actually the bottom end of Bishpool Lane, which from another video you might notice, where we looked at the boundary of Bishpool and Treberth Estates. And this is the bottom end of Bishpool Lane, and this would have come down to Bishpool Farm. Which I believe is where the residential home is now. And this leads you up to Ringwood Hill. Okay, right, this way, Otis. I think Otis is eager to lead the way actually. We're back over by the brook. Morning. No ducks today, Otis. Hey up, duck. No duck. A little bit of Derbyshire for you there, John. So Watery Lane follows the path that way, sort of thing. I'm just going to show you the entrance to Lady Hillwood This is the Lady Hill Woodlands, which is at the base of Dents Hill, which leads through the back of Ringwood Hill and then over to Aberthorpe Road eventually. And it basically covers the whole of the top of the Allway area. It's almost like a boundary marker between Allway and the Ringland area. Or rather the Ringwood area, because the Ringland area is that way, the other side of the Milton Wood. Good boy. And this is the bottom of Dents Hill, so this takes you up to Allway. Now we have a choice, we can walk up this way through Allway, which I think we'll do actually, because that's changed a lot. So Watery Lane disappears over there to the left and makes its way underneath Ringwood Circle and back around. And in the distance you can just about make out the Heart and Capital radio transmitters up on top of Christchurch, alongside the Celtic Manor. Otis, this way. That's a strange thing, sniffing a car. You think it's a big dog. And this is Dents Hill. Otis, come here a minute. I don't want you running off too far away, because unfortunately the drug users tend to use this lane at silly times and might leave some bits of plastic and other items here. So there we go. Right, so this is Dents Hill, which leads between the Bishpool Estate and Allway. And to the right, this is all part of Lady Hill Wood. Now, there's a little story about my father and this hill. My grandfather was out looking for him one afternoon. Couldn't find him anywhere. This is back in the sort of 50s. And they finally found him at the foot of this hill, with the bicycle in one hand, or most of the bicycle in one hand, and the front forks and wheel in the other hand. And he was pretty dazed and battered, because he came down here and his front forks came off. And apparently it was quite an amazing sight. You can visualise this young lad going down the hill, hurtling along, sat on the saddle with the rear seat and holding the handlebars, the forks, along with the front wheel in his hands, and they're not connected to the bike. And apparently he managed to make it about halfway down before he crashed through the hedge and disappeared into the foliage. So, and yeah, Grandad had to come and find him. Those are the days. What do you think, Otis? Is that another Jack and Dory this morning? Is Jack and Dory still going? Is that a thing now? Something I used to come home from school to watch as a kid. So there we go. Okay, so this brings us out into Allway, and this is the new part of Allway. Now this is Beecham Road and Lady Hill Wood Road, and this leads us up to Elgar Circle and Elgar Avenue. And I think we've mentioned this before in other videos, so won't talk too much about it. But this is another place that my father lived in Elgar Circle when they first moved from Leicester to Newport, when my grandfather moved to Newport to work for Standard Telephones and Cables. So it's sort of old Allway houses and new Allway houses. Just along here on the right there's a big opening, and there's quite a nice walk pathway going up the hill, which we'll take. Just have a little look at the view. Come on, Otis. Good boy. Oh, so poor old Otis last night, he had a party hat on with birthday boy written on it. He had a blue dicky bow along with his birthday bandana. Yeah, so this takes us up to Elgar Circle. This is Elgar Avenue, I believe. As you can see, all these new houses that have been built here. And we'll just head down this way a little bit. This is what the the locals know as the COVID seats. You know, usually you get park benches, don't you, with that can fit 3 or 4 people. Well, not here. They have single seats spaced a lot farther than 2 meters apart, more like 20 meters apart. But from here you can sit and enjoy the view across Bristol Channel. And there's a nice pink tinge in the sky from the sunrise. Absolutely beautiful. And here's Otis enjoying himself. Okay, Otis, we continue. Come on then. Leave it this way. Oh, what a crystal clear view straight across. Now, with my naked eye, I can make out the Mendips transmitter. Don't know whether we can on here. Directly above the pylon and to the left a little bit, I can just about make out the Mendip transmitter. Mendip is the hills just above Wells and directly in line with us, along with Clevedon Flats. So to the left you've got Clevedon, and then you've got the lowland areas before it disappears off towards West Supermare and yeah, Kew Stokes and such. So I was looking at the sky there because the gorgeous colours that are coming through. Anyway, we're here for Adventures of Otis. Sorry about that. I was dreaming there. Back to Otis. Oh, and all places lead to views of the Usk Vale Power Station Hardly a breath of air today. The wind turbine's only just about moving. So this morning we've passed by the Milton Wood, we've passed by the Brickyard Wood, and we've passed by the Lady Hill Wood. We'll carry on walking down through Olway. Fair dues. The council have produced lots of lovely seating areas around here, and there's a little bit of litter, but it's way better than it used to be. This way, Otis. Good boy. So on Wednesday, just gone, whilst we were in Beecher Park, I think it was Wednesday we were in Beecher Park, we made a video that morning as well. So if you look back there, you may in the background hear an air raid siren. And apparently there was a fire at Lliswerry, what's left of Lliswerry, which is the steelworks to the southern end of Newport. And they have air raid sirens that they set off if there's a fire, just to get people out of the locality. And that's what that was about. I was looking up the sky expecting to find some Heinkels and Messerschmitts and Vockerwolfs to fly by. Okay, and this is looking down at the new Olway shopping centre, the new Olway leisure centre, and down to the roundabout where young Ryan met his maker. And here we are, Vaughan Williams Drive. So, Vaughan William being a poet, of course he is, because all the names are in Olway, well this part of Olway, names of the roads are after poets. Saying that, I'm not sure about Lady Hill Wood Road. And this is actually Lady Hill Road as well. This we saw the other end of Lady Hill Road up at the top of Dent's Hill, and this used to follow right the way along. And this is Lady Hill Green. This building here, this used to be the main Olway police station, believe it or not. Back in the 70s and 80s, I think even into the 90s. This was always Olway police station. And I've got fond memories of this place as well, because my Uncle Graham and Auntie Helen lived here. This was their first marital home. And they had two beautiful dogs called Dylan and Penny. And I used to come along here on my push bike to take the dogs for a walk. Well, I used to take Penny for a walk because Dylan was a large police dog, and it would have been a bit daunting to take a giant Alsatian for a walk. Oh, a little bit of agility there from Otis. Well done, young man. And another little bit of knowledge coming up on the left. Back to the CB era. back in the 80s, there was a lady on the CB radio, Citizens Band Radio, who used to operate continually on Channel 19. No, leave that, Otis. Not quite sure what was in that silver paper. And she lived here in this house on the end, or this bungalow on the end. And she had a massive aerial out the back for the CB radio. And she was known as California Queen. And she was like the Southeast Wales information lady, a little bit like the Coast Guard radio operators, but for the CB radio band and the truckers. And she used to store all the information about what was happening that day in files, yeah, A4 ring type files. I know because I've seen them. And she used to give the truckers the very latest information about what was going on in the area, where the roadblocks were, and where the police were doing their speed checks. So there we go, a little bit of useless information for you. But those who follow the CB radio back in the 1980s will probably have memories of the California Queen. I know for certain that Juicy and Gandalf and Christabel would remember her. My father used to just think she was a nuisance. But hey ho, a lot of people loved having her on the radio. I had two pals called Damien and Andrew, and Damien was called the Black Baron, and Andrew was called oh dear, the Three Musketeers chap who wasn't the Three Musketeers. It'll come back to me. The chap with the beard. My days. It'll come back to me. It was there and then it disappeared. You know who you are, Andrew. And we were known as the two AJs when we were kids. Both Andrew Johns. So we were known as the two Andys or the two AJs. And D'Artagnan was his name on the radio. And in that era, I was known as the Wolf. I looked nothing like a wolf, I'm sure, but I was known as the Wolf. And that changed in the early 90s to Gadget, and that was a friend's mother, Martin Brown's mum, adopted the CB name for me. And she renamed me Gadget. Otis, let's go across. Good boy. This way, young man. Okay, this is Lliswerry Road. And if you remember, not so long ago, I took you for a walk under a very, very narrow railway bridge that took us between Olway and Pontfaen. Well, this is the very said road. It's a good boy. And I think Otis has been very good, letting us record him pounding the pavements this morning. This way, Otis. This way. Leave the pussycat alone. No, you leave him alone. This way. Come on. Arthur Bliss, another poet. Okay, Otis. Yes, so I think Otis has done a marvellous job pounding the pavements this morning. So I'm now going to take him for a nice run around Lliswerry Pond. Oh, I think he's heard me. He's Marching on, yes, I know you heard me. It's so nice having the radio aerials along here. This brings us down to the railway line, and I'll just walk over this way a little bit. We'll go that way in a moment. And there's the tiny tunnel that leads us to Lliswerry, Pond, Mullen Park and Broadmead Park. But Otis has done enough pounding the pavement this morning and deserves a good run around the park, so off we go. Hey, should we take a little look first at the pond? This is Lliswerry Pond, alongside the railway bridge and the railway. I suppose they go hand in hand, don't they, really? And here you get to see the wildlife in the morning, waking up, getting their breakfast. And if we head down a little bit, we'll get to see the beautiful swans. This way, Otis, come on, away from the water's edge now, don't go scaring the ducks. Okay, and from here we can just about make out the ducks and the swans and the black crested gulls, I think they are. Yes, they are. Making a nuisance and a noise. Oh, the duck's laughing at him. You silly gull, go away, he said. Okay, Otis, this way. We'll head over to the park where we'll sign off for the day. Otis, this way. A beautiful little bench area over here. He knows exactly where he's going. Okay, young fella, come on then, this way. This way, and you go for a run. Come on, this way. Oh, good boy. Oh, there's lots of other dog walkers up here this morning. Right then, Otis, you could do a zoom for us before we go. Come on. 1, 2, 3, zoom. Otis, 1, 2, 3, zoom. Oh, interrupted by a Coke can. Okay, 1, 2, 3, zoom. And 1, 2, 3, zoom. Otis, zoom. No, okay. Alright then. Okay, anyway, I'm going to let him off his leash now and have a little bit of a run around. So I'll say cheerio, all the best. Great to have you on board. Don't forget, please click on the like button, subscribe, and also leave a comment or two. Great to hear from you. Till next time, from Otis and I, it's cheerio.